He just stopped sleeping through the night basically, and it was a little bit sad when we like moved him into his own room. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to sit down and just film a chatty update with you on basically our 8-month-old's sleep routine. I've made lots of videos on my channel about Elliot's sleep and how we got him to sleep through the night and just routines and stuff like that. So I'll leave a link to all of those videos down below. But basically I just thought I'd update you on where we're at the moment, because baby sleep is a highly spoken about subject. If you're a new parent, you will know that. There's a lot of pressure on families to get their baby to sleep through the night, and just for sort of transparency reasons, I really wanted to make this update with you because if you've watched any of my other videos, you might already know that Elliot slept through the night from quite a young age. And it was something that I spoke about just because I spoke about our experience and how we managed to get him, or like things that we did to help him sleep through the night. But what I've learned, and you know, we never really took it as a given. We knew that babies were evolving all the time. Today I just thought I would give you a little bit of an update on how things are at the moment, because back then obviously he was young, we were co-sleeping, and a lot has changed in the last few months. So I wanted to be as transparent as possible, because I think transparency really helps other parents feel like they're less alone. As I said, there's a lot of pressure for this like sleeping through the night thing, and all babies are going to be so different, so it's really important to remember that. And that's why I'm making this video, because Elliot slept through the night from a really young age, about seven weeks old. I think he was doing like really good stretches of sleep, and then he did that until he was about 6 months old. So he's nearly 9 months now, so that's where we're at. And he slept in our room with us until the start of January, when he was nearly 8 months basically. And then he's now sleeping in his own bedroom in his nursery, which is another reason why I wanted to do the sleep update, to let you know how we're getting on with that. But yeah, from around the 6-month mark, I think it was November that it started, maybe the end of October, Elliot's sleep completely changed, which is just absolutely so normal. There is an app that we use called the wannabe. I'm sure if you're watching this, if you're a new parent, you probably heard about it. I don't love it. It doesn't work that well for us because Elliot wasn't born on his due date. He was born early. So it doesn't always match up that well with him. And I have read that in other reviews. If your baby, some people absolutely swear by it, and they say that it like predicts these leaps, these like developmental leaps that babies go through like really accurately. But it just gives us a rough idea to work on, because obviously babies' brains are developing all the time, and there's like these huge milestones that they're trying to achieve. They're trying to sit up, they're trying to roll over, and all of these things really affect your baby's sleep. So it's really important to remember that if their sleep changes, or if they're not sleeping through the night, there are so many reasons why this could be. It's not because you're failing as a parent. This is what this video is just all about, just to be as transparent as possible. We had a baby that slept through the night, and then he stopped sleeping through the night, and that's perfectly normal. And I'm just going to speak about our experience of that. So yeah, about 6 months old, we noticed that Elliot's sleep really changed quite a lot. He was still in our room at this point. We just weren't really in a rush to get him in his own room. We were quite happy with what we had going on. He is still breastfed, even though when he was sleeping through the night, he wasn't like needing a feed in the night. So yeah, around 6 months, his sleep changed quite a lot, and we had a lot of like quite a few bad nights. And again, teething, we put a lot of that down to teething, because he did then get his first few teeth come through a little while later. And I'm sure that that had something to do with it, because some of his like crying was really inconsolable, and it was almost like painful cries. You never know what's wrong with a baby, do you? Because they can't tell you what the matter is. So you've just got to kind of go with your gut instincts with babies. Some nights we'd have to give him some Calpol, some nights he'd have to have a comfort feed. So yeah, he had, like, I think November was the worst month. I remember we had quite a lot of like broken sleep, and he was like waking up like he'd go down to bed at like between 6:30 and 7 p.m. and then he could wake up anywhere from like midnight to like 2 a.m. Sometimes he'd be up for an hour, which considering he used to sleep through the night, this was a big change for him, clearly, and us. And in the end, I had to start then introducing a night feed that was the only way that he would sort of console himself. And when babies are breastfed, I think it like releases like a sleepy hormone for them, and it just relaxes them and soothes them. So I did have to resort back to a night feed, which is fine because I've still got the supply, and it just, when you're laying in bed and just cuddling up, it doesn't really make any difference to me. You read these things like if they've not been having a night feed, like don't give them a night feed because you know you set bad habits. And to be honest, you've got to do what works for you. And we tried everything else, and a feed was kind of the thing that worked for us. So you know, that's what we do now. So yeah, he was getting up in the night, usually about 2 a.m. I'd say, or 2 to 3, not really sure. Every night was different really, but he went from sleeping through to sort of 5:30, 6 a.m. to waking up in the night for a feed. Sometimes he'd be really upset when he woke up, and he kind of wasn't consoling himself back to sleep. And obviously, because we were still in the same room together, you don't want to like listen to your baby crying in the room when you're right next to them. It's not nice. And we don't do the cry out method, to be honest. We try it, and we'll let him cry a little bit. Sometimes, like, obviously Elliot's old enough now that we know the difference between a bit of a moany cry that he might console himself from, or a no, I need mum and dad cry kind of thing. So yeah, he stopped sleeping through the night at about the 6-month age, which when you've had a baby that's been sleeping through is quite a tough adjustment, because you're used to having these long stretches of sleep and then you go back to broken sleep. But to be honest, we know that nothing's a given with a baby. They change all the time. So, you know, we just roll with it every time. And I think another thing that's worth pointing out is routine is really important still. Like, don't try and change your routine thinking that it might keep your baby sleeping through the night. I don't think it's got anything to do with that. If you've got a good routine going, stick to that. It's still really important. A routine is going to look totally different to every family, so you will know by now what works for your baby. So stick to your routine, I say, because it's still really important for them. They familiarise with like your daily things that you do and things, so we still stuck to our routine as much as possible, like bath at bedtime and story and all that kind of thing. Everyone's routines are different. So yeah, he just stopped sleeping through the night basically, which, as I say, was a little bit like of a culture shock because we'd been sleeping like really well. But again, you just get used to it again. Like, we're totally used to waking up in the night now, and he will wake up for a feed, and he's literally like just feeding for like less than 10 minutes. So we're awake for like a really short amount of time, and then we put, like, before we moved him in his own room, we just put him back in the snooze pod, which we've still got in our bedroom. You might be able to see behind me. Haven't taken it down yet. Yeah, so, and then in January, we transferred him into his own room, Elliot. It was kind of the goal that we had to put him in his own room in the new year. Once we got past 6 months, and I was like, oh, I'm not ready to move him into his own room yet. Me and my husband Oliver, we both decided that a new year in January would be a really good time to start. And yeah, he's been in his room nearly a month now, I suppose, and it's gone really well actually. I'm quite happy with how we're going with that. I actually think that he had outgrown his snooze pod because he's quite a big boy, and if you're familiar with snooze pod, it's got like these mesh bits at the side of it, and he was just like scratching it like when he was ready to come out, and like tossing it, like he just didn't have the space in there because obviously he's now a big like 8-month-old baby rather than a newborn. So yeah, he is in his own bedroom now. We got the sleepyhead grant because he always used the sleepyhead in his like snooze pod, and he absolutely loves it. He just really likes the comfort of the sleepyhead. We still use white noise, which is another thing that I've spoken about many times. I've definitely put a lot of his successful sleeping in the past down to white noise, so he still likes that. It's still a really comforting sleep aid for babies, and you know, there's no shame in still using that. He really likes it. So he still uses My Hummy for white noise. We still put him in a sleeping bag, again, because it's just nice and cosy for him. The cosier they are, the better chance that you're going to get them to sleep for a good stretch of time. So yeah, he is in his own room now, and it was a little bit sad when we moved him into his own room, because it's almost like that step towards them being a bigger baby rather than your little newborn baby and your tiny baby that's been in your room with you since they've been born. But I'm glad we've done it. It's working really well at the minute, and he still was like waking up in the night, but I think we've had more success at him soothing himself in his own room than like if he was to wake up in the night in his snooze pod, he wouldn't settle. But a few times since he's been in his own room, if he's woken up, he's managed to soothe himself back to sleep, which is obviously really good. So yeah, that is kind of where we're at with the sleep situation. And then funnily enough, the last couple of nights, he has actually slept through again, which is just, it goes to show how just babies change all the time, don't they? So he went to bed the last 2 nights, he's done like 6:30 to 4:30, 4:45, which is about like 10 hours sleep. So that, I count that as sleeping through, even though it's a really early start to your day. And then this morning he woke up 4:30, and we managed to put him back in his room for another 2 hours, and he got up at 6:30. So it just goes to show, doesn't it, that baby sleep literally is constantly evolving. And at the moment he's nearly crawling, so I'm surprised that he's having good sleep, because I know that these big milestones in babies' lives are keeping their brains like on overdrive almost, aren't they? So yeah, he's in his own room now. He's nearly 9 months. He stopped sleeping through the night. We had some quite disturbed nights, like in the winter. And then he has been doing better since he's been in his own room, I think. But we still do have nights where he will wake up, which is fine, and we just get on with it. He'll have a feed sometimes if he needs to. If he seems like he's in pain, we'll put some Bonjela on his gums or give him Calpol. So I just guess that this video is here for anyone that needs to hear it, really, that it's okay if your baby's not sleeping through the night, or if they've gone from sleeping through the night to not sleeping through the night. Normal, completely normal. You know, as humans, our sleep is changing all the time as well, and we're not like babies that are going through these huge developmental milestones. So just bear that in mind. Try not to feel the pressure too much when, you know, other people are saying that their babies are sleeping through. There are a lot of babies that aren't sleeping through as well, and it's just normal for your baby, so try not to feel stressed out about it. Roll with it. As this video hopefully is going to prove to you, times change. They might start sleeping through, then they might stop. Or, you know, babies are going to evolve all the time. So the easier you are on yourself, the easier it makes it, to be honest. So yeah, I've just been meaning to do this sleep update because I want to be as transparent as possible. I don't want it to look like I've said my baby sleeps through the night and then they've stopped and I haven't addressed it, because it's really important to be honest about these things, because it might help another parent out in a similar situation. So I won't speak for any longer because I know this is probably going to be a fairly long little update. But if you've got any questions down below, or if you want to share your experience of your own baby, maybe they stopped sleeping through at certain points, I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because I make lots of similar content to this, motherhood and life in between. So I will see you again soon for another video.